Full of life. This is his owner, John Hales, on the left, just talking to him.
You've done it all, champion. Huh? You come home safe, that's all I want. And then that green field is out there for you, huh? Come on, son.
John, you're just giving him words of encouragement, are you?
Oh, yes. Yeah, it's always a nervous moment, you know. I always talk to him.
Yeah.
I make sure it doesn't matter about the result. You've got to come home safe and well. And that's paramount.
He must have given you so much pleasure over the years, but I should think, you know, never as much as when he actually broke his sort of Cheltenham hoodoo and won the Champion Chase.
No, I mean, that was his greatest moment, wasn't it? Absolutely fantastic. I just can't put it into words. The feeling, the fact that he's a true champion. He's the first horse, by the way, ever to win the 2 Royal Trophies of the King George and the Queen Mother. He's the first grey horse to win the Queen Mother, and thanks go out to the Racing Post for sending me all that information.
Well, Gordon Richards is here as well. This is his trainer. Rides him out every day, Gordon. You always call him your little rubber ball, but is he bouncing? Do you think he's in good form?
Yeah, I think for this time of the year he's in good form. I mean, you know, a lot of horses been trained for Cheltenham. Just train off a little bit as spring comes, but he is in good form. Very good form.
And there's been fighting talk from the Strong Promise camp. They've been building this up as a showdown between the two. What do you think?
Well, you know, strong talking strength, but no, Mr. Hubbard has a very good horse. But Mr. John Hales and Gordon Richards has a good one too. But I think the ground's a bit against both of us. But as I say, he ran in a Gold Cup. He's been to Cheltenham. He's had a tough race. I've been to Cheltenham. 2 very, very good horses, and I'm sure they're going to put up and make a very exciting race for everybody.
I certainly hope they will. Thank you very much for talking to us, and good luck later on.
Thank you.
Gale, Graham Bradley, 2 as one man, the Champion Chase winner at Cheltenham, and the winner of 20 of his 34 starts to date, and a total of £459,000 in prize money. Brian Harding has the ride again today. 3 is All Royal, runner-up to one man at Cheltenham, Tony McCoy in the saddle. Number 4 is Strong Promise, Norman Williamson. Strong Promise, of course, second to Cool Dawn in the Gold Cup, winner of 8 of his 26 starts. And number 5, Opera Hat from Ireland, Conor O'Dwyer. So 5 runners and full of interest. And here's the betting.
The grey one man is 7-4 to win here, but 9-4 is Strong Promise, 5-2 Au Royale. It looks close, does it not, between the leading 3. 10-1 and continuing to be backed. Remember, this one was 20s earlier on, is Opera Hat, and 25's Merry Gale.
Well, I'm standing here in the paddock with a man who wishes he was on board one man. You have been many times before, Tony Dobbin. And how do you think he looks?
I think he looks very well. I mean, coming from Cheltenham, he looks absolutely buzzing, and the yard is very happy with him, you know.
And how sick are you that, you know, you weren't able to ride him at Cheltenham and you haven't been able to ride him here?
It's very, very disappointing, Karen. It's very strange for me standing here watching them going out in the parade ring as well. I mean, I should be on him, but Brian knows the horse very well, and I'm sure he'll give him every bit as good as ride as he did at Cheltenham, you know.
Well, let's hope he runs well. You had a quick look at Strong Promise and said how well he looked as well. But one man, he's just such a bouncy, bubbly horse, isn't he? Full of enthusiasm.
He's like that all the time, isn't he? You know, and for the viewers at home, they probably think, I mean, he looks a lot bigger on the television than he is, you know, in real life, you know. But he rides a big horse and he's got a lot of scope.
And when he takes off outside the wings, which we've seen him do before, it just must feel like you're taking off on an aeroplane.
He has, like I said, he's got a lot of scope, and that's why I think this trip suits him better than any other trip, you know, 2.5 or 2 mile, because he jumps so fast and he travels so well, you know.
Well, they seem very, very confident in the Gordon Richards camp. They don't think he had a hard race at Cheltenham. They think he can win again today.
Yeah, and I hope he does, Phil, I tell you.
Well, we'll be watching.
Chances, well, Tony Dobbin's out of action. 7-4 from 13-8. It will be fascinating, but you cannot rule out the other horses either.
No, I think the question, Richard, perhaps you could answer it for me, is, I mean, the horses that have run from Cheltenham, 1 or 2 have disappointed. Martin Pipe's horses have held their form. But you could argue with this, that all these horses, Merry Gale ran yesterday. One man has had a pretty hard season, been on the go a long time. Strong Promise has run at Cheltenham, or Royals run at Cheltenham. Opera Hat, who the money has been for, is the one horse that hasn't had a hard time. And the other question mark is the soft ground for Strong Promise. This horse will handle the ground. Will Strong Promise?
They are the questions, and they'll be answered very shortly indeed. Well, of course, One Man and Strong Promise have met each other several times. We can have a look at them at Ascot in the Comet and Sony Chaser, but we'll have a look at the horse. Totally different, isn't he, from his big rival today. But let's remind ourselves of their clash early in the season. But Skew, this was a very different matter because it was first time out for Strong Promise.
Yes, it was, and Jeff Hubbard is reported to say that the horse improves. That's Strong Promise, obviously, in the green behind there, just tarring. But it was interesting, Mick Kinane, who's Mr. Hubbard's assistant, has spent a lot of time with Guy Harwood, and he weighed the horses a lot. And by weighing horses, you can evaluate how fit they are, the length of time that they've worked, the amount of work they've done. You can look at their weight, and you can pretty much say they're fit by their weight. Now, he said that before this race that his weight was spot on, so he can't have been all that far off prime fitness. Disappointed a little bit next time at Wincanton, and on that I didn't think he got the trip, and I thought he got no chance in the Gold Cup on his second to go ballistic, because he was running away throughout the whole race. Norman had dropped him in to get the trip, but he just seemed to, nothing could beat him going to the cross fence at Wincanton. That's 4 or 5 out. By the time he turned into the straight, he was beaten. So I just put a question mark over his handling of this ground over 2.5. But he is the most magnificent horse. He's never won on anything better than good ground.
He's very relaxed in the parade today, and they're headed there by Merry Gale, who ran yesterday. But Jim Draper said that he's a horse that keeps a little bit for himself, has to come late. And then the perfect racehorse, in my view, is Strong Promise. If you were looking for horses, that is the sort of horse you would look at when you were trying to get your role model. Now, we mustn't forget the final one, which is, of course, Opera Hat, the only mare, and she gets a £5 allowance for being a mare here, and she's off 11.5, the rest of them off 11.10. Opera Hat has been backed because of the ground. You'll see that there's a bandage on her off hind, and it's making her just sort of wary of picking that leg up. I mean, not wary, almost string-halty, and this it was as a result of cutting her hind leg as a yearling, and it's just purely protection, because obviously steeplechasing, you can brush your hind legs through the birch, and therefore they're protecting for at the head of the market, Skew.
Yes, I mean, because he likes the ground. He ran a cracking race at Cheltenham. He's done a tremendous job, and he won the Arkle as a novice. He struggled a little bit once or twice this season, but I mean, he's been taking on the very best, and he's only a 7-year-old, and he's entitled to improve again. But his 4-length defeat by One Man at Cheltenham was a great run. One Man, I think, John Hales was saying that, he's the only horse that won the 2 royal races, the King George and the Queen Mother. I mean, he is a magnificent horse, isn't he? I think we sometimes underplay them and don't give them the credit they deserve. I think we could be seeing in One Man one of the great horses of all time.
We've got Opera Hat, the mare, the one they've been backing. It is the ground. That's the move for her.
Yes, I mean, but on her bare form, it doesn't suggest she is good enough. She's 9-1 from 10s. As I say, the one thing about her is that she's fresh. All these have had hard races. Merry Gale, as I've said, Merry Gale had a hard race yesterday, and she's fresh.
They're being called in, so why don't we join Jim McGrath of the Daily Telegraph.
Thanks, Richard. Under orders and away in this Mum Melling Chase over 2.5 miles on the Mildmay course, and heading towards the first of 16 fences. Merry Gale out in front, takes off and lands over from Opera Hat. All Royal was a bit sticky back in the field, didn't jump the first at all well, just headed by One Man in the early stages, and 2 or 3 lengths away is Strong Promise as they come now to the second. Merry Gale out in front, lands over at 2 lengths clear of the fellow Irish challenger Opera Hat in second. 2 lengths away is the grey One Man. A couple of lengths then on the right of picture is All Royal, and sticking very wide there is Strong Promise, some way detached from the field, and didn't jump that too confidently, but continuing on now. That was the first of the ditches, coming now towards fence number 4. Merry Gale nearest the camera, first to rise from Opera Hat, wider out. They're half a length then into in third. One Man is right up hard on the heels of the leaders. 4 lengths away then is All Royal, and on the outside, just grabbing hold of the bit now, Strong Promise, about 5 or 6 lengths from the leader. rounding that sharper turn from the back and racing across the top of the course towards the cross fence, which will be number 5. And Opera Hat, who's been the medium of quite a hefty plunge today from 20 to 1 this morning, backed right down to a single figure quote, shows the way by 3 parts of a length to one man, the grey, up on the outside, anxious to go a little bit faster. They're 3 lengths in advance of Mary Gale, then Strong Promise the outside, and dropping back to last now is All Royal. Heading up towards the first in the straight, and Opera Hat with the noseband on the far side, the first to rise, but a spectacular leap by one man on the near side, jumped up sides and has now taken up the running for Brian Harding as they head towards the second ditch, which will be number 7. One man out in front here, comes to it, has a good look, jumped a little high but landed over it 2 lengths clear. Strong Promise, his challenger. His arch rival is hard on his heels there in second place as they continue their journey up the home straight. Opera Hat over on the far side and followed further back by Mary Gale, who's dropping back through the field already and about to be passed by All Royal. Heading now towards the 8th. Steadied at it, one man jumping a little bit out to his right but landed a length and a half clear of Strong Promise, who's tracking the grey as they race up to the judge with a circuit remaining. 1 length away then is Opera Hat the inside. 3 parts away then Mary Gale, and 3 parts to All Royal, who's last of the 5 runners as they swing sharply left-handed now, racing past the packed stands and towards the back, almost back where they started. The grey one man, he's been out in front for quite a way, about 2 lengths in advance of Strong Promise. Norman Williamson just holding him in behind in second. Going well, Strong Promise. A length away then the plunge horse Opera Hat. 1 length then to Mary Gale, who's feeling the pinch on the inside of All Royal. Back where they started and heading towards the 9th. One man, the grey, about 4 lengths clear, comes towards the first. And he's gone. Oh, a shocking blunder there. He hit that hard. He never rose at all, one man. And he's on the floor. Brian Harding has taken a very, very heavy fall. One man is still on the ground as they continue their journey down the far side. Opera Hat takes it up now from Mary Gale. Strong Promise in third and All Royal behind them. But unfortunately, one man is still on the floor as they continue their journey down the back. It's Opera Hat in the centre, who's the first to rise from Strong Promise out wider. Mary Gale behind them in third, and All Royal is now just starting to edge a little bit closer as they continue their journey towards the 12th, the last one down the back. It's Opera Hat on the near side, didn't jump it well, a mistake, and grabbed by Strong Promise, who jumped it boldly. He's gone into the lead, Strong Promise now, he's absolutely cantering. A length and a half to one man behind them, and further back in the field is Mary Gale as they continue their journey around the turn now and race towards the cross fence. It's Opera Hat in front from Strong Promise. Unfortunately, one man, the news is bad, I'm afraid. He's on the floor down the back as they come to 4 out. Opera Hat, the first to rise, lands over at 3 in front of Strong Promise. 3 lengths further back is All Royal, followed further back in the field by Mary Gale. But as they round the corner now with 3 fences left to jump in the Melling Chase, it's Opera Hat who's been backed off the board today. It's about 4 in front from Strong Promise. Further back is All Royal, a gap to Mary Gale. 3 out though, Opera Hat the far side in front, draws towards it, a mighty leap at it, lands over at 3 in front of Strong Promise, followed then by All Royal behind them, and a long gap then to Mary Gale. They've got 2 fences left to jump now in the Melling Chase. Coming to this last ditch, Opera Hat wasn't that fluent, brushed through the top of it. Here's Tony McCoy on All Royal now being produced behind, followed then by Strong Promise, who's getting very weary, and a long gap to Mary Gale. They've got 1 fence left to jump. Opera Hat out in front here for Conroe to wire. 3 in front of All Royal on the near side giving chase now. 1 left to jump. Opera Hat the far side, brushed through the top of it. All Royal on the near side throwing out a determined challenge now. They're about 15 lengths in front of Strong Promise. On the run in for home though, it's Opera Hat who's digging deep for Conroe to wire and is going to go on and score a courageous win in the Melling Chase. Opera Hat goes on to win by 2.5 lengths. In second, All Royal, a long gap of 15-20 lengths then to Strong Promise, and Mary Gale is last of the quartet. Well, as they pull up now, Opera Hat is the winner, number 5, Opera Hat Conroe Dwyer. Second, number 3, All Royal, ridden by Tony McCoy. And third is number 4, Strong Promise, Norman Williamson. Fourth, number 1, Merry Gale, ridden by Graham Bradley. Unfortunately, one man coming to grief at the first down the back.
Reflecting on this race, of course, is tinged with sadness. We don't know yet, I'm afraid, the exact extent of the injuries to the great one man, but we will update you there. Even though this one has been the best
stage, and as soon as we have confirmation of the situation, we'll bring that to you. But Opera Hat is the winner, ridden by Conroe Dwyer. This mare by Strong Gale, trained by John Fowler for Mrs. T.K. Cooper. 20 to 1 this morning and backed right down, and has run out a good winner, a courageous winner, in very testing conditions here this afternoon. Opera Hat recording the 15th win of her 48 start career. And certainly this is the race number 9. That's the result of the Mum Melling Chase, our second race from Aintree today.
So far, the Irish have won the first 2 races of the afternoon. They've got a big chance in the next with Boss Doyle from Mouse Morris's yard. The happy moment, in fact, it's very sombre indeed. We have just had confirmation that I'm afraid one man has been put down. Everyone's hero had a crashing fall at the ditch on the far side of the course. Just a few minutes ago, it was heartbreaking to see Brian Harding, his jockey, coming in and being consoled by everyone. There's Lisa Hales on the far side, part owner of one man. But Brian Harding absolutely distraught, as he would be, and as indeed we all are. It just is such a hard burden to bear. It is a part of the job that we all try to put to one side and forget about, but when it comes to reality like this, I'm afraid it just has to be faced. Jenny Pittman herself, very sentimental and commiserating with Brian Harding. We've just heard that sadly one man broke his right tibia and was put to sleep. Well, Brian Harding will go back to the weighing room, but here we have Tony Dobbin with us. Tony, of course, rider of one man. I mean, this sort of thing is the sad side of racing, which now and again, I'm afraid, surfaces.
It just makes you feel sick to your stomach, doesn't it? I mean, you can feel it all around the race course now. I mean, it's really terrible news. I mean, the public love this horse, you know.
And as a horse, he was a lovely horse, wasn't he?
I mean, he had his knockers and he's proved them all wrong, and over his last couple of runs, you know. I feel sorry for the boss, to be honest. This is his first day of racing. He hasn't been so well, and he absolutely lives for this horse. You know, he loves him, you know. So he won't be feeling so good either.
Skew, you must have been in similar situations in the past, you know, and it just does bottom you, doesn't it?
It really does. I mean, all the connections and obviously the people following racing at home, it really knocks it out of you. But the other person, I don't know who looks after one man. I mean,
yeah, Audrey looks after him. She'll be good at him. She adores the horse, you know.
I mean, the stable staff get closer to them than anybody, and I mean, it's losing a friend, isn't it?
That's exactly it. It is losing a friend. The race did continue, of course.
And Brian Harding in tears. There's just nothing you can say to make it feel any better. It's just one of those horrible, harsh facts of racing, and you know, it's just a really, really hard feeling here. Everybody very disappointed, incredibly sorry, and my heart does go out to Gordon Richards and to John and Lisa Hales and to Brian Harding. But it wasn't his fault. It wasn't anybody's fault. It is, I'm afraid, just one of those things. Let's move on now to the